Greg, welcome back.
Thanks, Rich. I've missed you.
I've missed you too.
Where have you been?
Hiding. No, trying to keep up with all your successes. So, I hear you're Fabricator of the Year.
Yes, yeah. So, I think the last time we spoke was coming up to the 2-year mark. And at the time, I think I was only maybe 18 months, coming up to 2 years at the time of being MD. And I remember speaking about the history and the background to Warwick, and talking about obviously my uncle who founded the business in '98, my dad taking over in 2008, and both of them were huge successes. My uncle had that entrepreneurial spirit that we spoke about last time. My dad grew the business in more economic difficulty, and he was a real sort of passionate businessman, and really enjoyed his work. He was an accountant by trade, and yeah, a massive respect for how he grew the business and how he took over from my uncle. And then when it was my time to come, I think we touched on that. It wasn't necessarily imposter syndrome, so to speak, but there was maybe just natural human nature, seeds of doubt of whether I could fill those big shoes that had preceded me. What was great about the G Award win was I remember coming back from collecting the trophy on the stage, and just having a real moment of emotion. I think that just overwhelmed me and hit me all at once. And it was almost like, I think I used the analogy to Andrew Scott actually at Purple X, who was with us on the table at the night. And I think I said to him, it was almost like that moment I felt like I'd achieved, I'd made my mark on the business. Because we know obviously the G Awards is the industry's, Oscars, if you like. It's from a manufacturer. To be crowned Fabricator of the Year is, in terms of acknowledgement and awards and recognition, it's probably the pinnacle within the industry. And the analogy I used, I think, to Andrew at the time was, if there was a Mount Rushmore of Warwick, and my uncle's face and my dad's face, and then I finally at that moment felt like I'd carved mine into the mountain, if you like. So it was a real proud moment, a real emotional moment, because on the previous podcast with yourself, we spoke about some of the adversity that personally I'd gone through in how I'd taken over the business, albeit I'd had a 15-16 year sort of apprenticeship of learning the ropes all the way through. It was under difficult circumstances with my dad's cancer diagnosis, in which it was sort of in the deep end, without the armbands, and taking over the family business. So yeah, the G Award moment was a real sort of emotional one, and one where I'm really sort of proud of, and will always be proud of it, to be perfectly honest with you, because one point I'd like to make sort of on record is the standard of other fabricators and in that category was phenomenal. The list of other competitors and other peers within the industry who had made the shortlist, it almost felt like Warwick were punching above the weight a little bit in regards to some of the super fabricators who manufacture a lot more frames than us on a weekly basis. Others who have lovely purpose-built factories and lovely showrooms and things like that. But one thing I always knew was, whilst we're not as big as some of the others, we have real authenticity and real heart amongst the business. We fabricate an excellent window. We're very good at manufacturing. We have a great team. And we also have, as I say, a spirit that's slightly different, and one that I think sets us apart slightly from the others. But I would like, as I say, to give a huge congratulations and a huge mention to the others in the category. And what was lovely as well, which I'll share with you, was after the win, I had numerous messages from other fabricators in the category and further afield in the industry. A lot of MDs and CEOs who'd reached out and said congratulations, and I just thought that was a touch of class from people, and showed a real camaraderie, and shows a lot about what the industry is about and how we all sort of pull together, and how we all, whilst we're in competition with one another, of course, and we all have our different, you know, profiles and system houses and suppliers and stuff that we use, that, you know, we're all in it together to some degree, and we all strive for similar sort of purposes. So that was a real nice touch, and complimented as well by the judges, who said some really nice words about us. I think on the night we were cited for our social value element, which has been really important to Warwick over the last few years. As part of the supply chain, you know, Warwick don't procure work on any sort of frameworks or anything like that. We don't necessarily have to show social value, but we do it because we believe that's the best way to conduct business. One thing that we have a saying at Warwick, and I might have actually quoted this on the last time with you. My uncle and my dad had a saying that whenever we had a new recruit or a new starter, we'd ask them, what do Warwick make? And of course the answer would always be, we make windows and doors, which is correct. But the point they were getting at was actually, yeah, we make windows and doors, but we're here commercially to make money and to make profit. I think my stance has been to take that to an additional level. So what do we make now? We make windows and doors, which, you know, entail makes profits and money. But if we can use our platform as a business to sort of give back and make a difference to our local communities, then I think that's the winning formula. And apart from obviously making, you know, a good standard window and door and having a really good service level, there's things like our social value and our charitable work that we do locally, how we have apprenticeships, how we upskill, how we have a real high retention rate within the business, and how we've really worked on the culture, how we've tried to adapt females into the business, and how we've had a real success at trying to modernise maybe an industry that at times, if I was to have one criticism of the fenestration industry, is that we can be a little bit set in the times of being a little bit archaic in our way of thinking. So we certainly try to adapt modern ideas and modern sort of management. So that all in all, I think, came together and was able to help us achieve the recognition of the G24.
So going back to the last podcast, you were quite vulnerable on that podcast, and you mentioned them reaching, you know, people reaching out because the industry does have class and people do reach out. Did you get anyone reaching out from that podcast?
Yes, plenty. And I think I said at the time I was a little bit sort of skeptical of whether I wanted to share too much of the personal information on the last podcast, and I'm really pleased that I did, because I had plenty people reach out and say, actually, listen to your podcast with Richard, and I went and had a prostate examination and things like that, and I just thought, wow, that's really meaningful, I think, to be able to reach out and say, you know, listen to what you'd said about your dad. And as an industry, I think the average age is something like 46, 47. So it when you get to around that, you know, 50 mark, and obviously with the industry being very male orientated, it's important that, you know, we take sometimes a moment to step away from the work and the commercial commitments and actually focus on, you know, our health and our well-being and our mental health as well, because there was a few that reached out in regards to sort of the challenges and the adversity of running a business, living up to, my uncle and my dad. I think we spoke about at the time, the children, my children were only 2 years of age, and it was all coming to terms with my dad's diagnosis, him not being in the family business anymore, and it felt quite lonely, and it felt quite sort of isolated, and a big sort of challenge for me. But one that 2 years later I can sit here now and say to you has been a real sort of it was a baptism of fire, don't get me wrong, but it's been one that I've been able to navigate successfully and proudly, even by my own sort of recognition.
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah, you should be proud. You've done the last 2 years. Just well, getting into the next bit is the awards.
Yep.
So since then, I mean, you talk on the BBC. Just talk us through what you've been up to.
There's been, so the last 2 years have gone as a whirlwind, Richard. To be fair, the awards have been great, and recognition is brilliant. Not for me, but for the wider team. It's got to the point now, I think, where we've had that much success with awards locally as well as nationally, that people almost expect us to enter a category and win. We win more times than not, which is real testament to the fact that there's substance behind what we're doing here. It's not an anomaly that we've won the odd awards. These are different set of judges and different set of categories where we're getting recognised for the same purposeful reasons, which is absolutely fantastic from my perspective. Because I think there was questions when I led the business in a slightly different direction, not from anyone internally, because I think one thing that I've been really fortunate to have is a great team who believe in the strategy and they believe in the vision. But we have done things differently here that most window manufacturers don't do. And we've employed, for example, a social value manager. And I think one of the questions was, well, why do we need a social value manager? We've never had one before. Well, yes, of course, we've never had one before, but that doesn't necessarily mean to say that, we don't need one now, because, as the business evolves and we grow and we go down different sort of routes to market. One of our biggest growth areas recently over the last few years has been in the housing association and the registered providers who build and repair and maintain social and affordable housing. And what's been great for us is that our values and what Warwick stands for as a business actually really resonates with that sector and that market. So they've been a real sort of growth area for us. We're doing some large commercial projects at the moment. There's plenty going on in the city region. And just back to the awards, we were recognised for a national award recently. It was the Sunday Express. They had an awards, and they contacted us and said, "Would you like to enter this category? We think you have the credentials to do well." And when I looked at the category, there was Wicks, Screwfix, Travis Perkins, some really big sort of companies across the UK. And the category was, for the construction and the property industry, but it was for supplier of the year. I actually missed the awards because I was on holiday, but the team went and came back with the trophy there, and the judges citing, the community spirit, the social value element, the innovation, because we manufacture a window system which is part of Eurocel's product range, Modus. Modus is arguably the most sustainable window system on the UK market at the moment, because Eurocell have been doing some great work in regards to the sustainability elements, and the resin which is used to manufacture the PVC is actually from the Ineos group, and it's called Neoven. So Neoven resin is made in sustainable way. It has like electrification processes and things like that, and it actually reduces the carbon footprint, I think, by like 37%. So as a manufacturer of Uracell products, the great thing for us is that we're able then to sort of piggyback our Uracell's sort of philosophy and ethics, and tie it in obviously with ours as a manufacturer. And again, that ties then back into that sort of housing association world, who are looking to build and to replace and to retrofit and make homes the most, you know, energy efficient and warm and safe types of dwellings that they can. So yeah, so there's been plenty going on. The award wins have been great, but you know, the work behind and the reasons for the award wins, I think, are the most important thing for me.
I'm seeing it everywhere though as well, because I'm looking behind you and you've got a shirt on the wall.
Yeah.
What was that about?
So the shirt on the wall behind us actually is from a local charity that we partnered with called Y Kids. So Y Kids are based in Bootle, and the area that the factory is located in is known as a deprived area. It's actually, unfortunately for the children growing up in the area, it's in the worst 6% in the UK for literacy. So Y Kids are a charity who, one arm of the charity has a bookstore. It's do some great work in regards to literacy, and it's just sometimes allowing the children to escape the normal day-to-day life of any struggles that they may be going through, but also then giving them the opportunity to learn to read and educate them as much as possible, and give them that real sort of basic foundation to go on and achieve things in life. So so Y Kids have a big heart. We've sponsored them for 2 or 3 years, to be perfectly honest with you, and they sum up our sort of local community really well. So they presented me with that lovely shirt at the back, which is a world game changing shirt, which is quite nice. It says young people who believe that they can go on and make a difference. So that's certainly what we try and do at Warwick, is to make a difference where we can. And you know, we're not, you know, we're an SME at the end of the day. You know, we're not a big conglomerate. We can only do what we can. But if we can try and lead by example and get others to follow suit, then that is a winner for me as well.
Sounds like you're definitely using your platform for good. And on that note, with youth, the fenestration industry, it has or is suffering with lack of youngsters coming into it.
Yep.
Are you sort of looking at that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing we done only recently, in the last 6 or 7 months, is we added a layer to our company structure, which we've never had before. So we now have a junior management team. So our senior team is a great mixture of experience, and some members have been here 20, 25 years. And what I wanted to try and do was to future-proof the business as best as we could. And I wanted to try, first and foremost, to take a little bit of pressure and a little bit of stress off the senior management team. But also with longevity in mind, I wanted to have a junior team who could be mentored by the senior team to learn their roles. So the junior team have a senior who they report into, and the idea is that they learn, whether it be production manager role, sales office manager role. We have a junior finance director. So the CFO, Ian, is probably coming up to his 60th birthday soon, and the junior management team are all within the age bracket of 20 to 30. So we've got some real good talent within the business, really strong team, a lot of postgrads. More recently, actually only yesterday, we had 2 new starters, Shay and James. So Shay comes from the University of Liverpool. He's just studied business and economics. He graduated with a first class honours degree. James has a master's degree. He has spent time at Liverpool Chamber of Commerce as the engagement manager. He's really good personality, great with customers. But the two of them are just a small sample of the wider talent pool that we have here. We have some real academic, young, hungry, not just I'm just thinking other than the office, you know, we from a shop floor perspective, we have apprenticeships coming through quite regularly. We have a relationship and a partnership with our local college. We're quite fortunate in Liverpool that we have two world-class universities, but we also have some fantastic college institutions as well. So in Bootle, there's one on our doorstep called Hugh Bird, and there's one within the city called City Liverpool College. Both have the talent pool there for us. So sometimes I question, is there a skills shortage? Probably more nationally, I would agree, yes. Within the Liverpool City region, the talent's there. I think employers just need to know how to access it. And if they can access it, and the work we've done recently is to go down the apprenticeship route, then you can see some real young blood coming through and learning roles that, you know, a couple of years ago when we had our last conversation, I worried about. We have our own in-house glass shop for starters, and I always pinpoint this role, but we have a LED designer who does all the leaded light windows and all the stained glass and all the bevels and things like that, and it's a real creative role, real artistry role.
It definitely is, yeah.
And I always used to walk past his bench and think, who replaces him when he retires? So we've done some really good work to address the age demographic internally at Warwick. We're in a real great shape for the present, but probably even stronger for the future, which is great and makes me really proud when I look at the company structure and I see the names and the potential that I know these people can go on and have. But it's not just necessarily the age demographic that we've tried to change as well. We've done some really good work on trying to increase the women in the business. So much so that our HR gave me a stat only a couple of weeks ago that we've actually grew by 200% our female allocation, which is great to hear. We still really strive to get women onto the shop floor. We're doing a lot of work with the colleges. Have plenty of females in the business, but more in a office and admin capacity and accountancy and marketing and things like that. But I really do strive to try and change the demographics a little bit on the shop floor as well. I think there was a stat that I had in the back of my mind, which is 25-26% in manufacturing roles are female. So I'd like to change that somewhere down the line. And I think this stems again from the children, being a dad of two young girls, and wanting to try and break that mold a little bit with the opportunities sometimes that females struggle with, especially in our industry. I think it's definitely got better over the years. When you go to any of the fenestration or corporate events, or even down at the Fit Show, I noticed plenty of women, which was great to see. So we're definitely, as an industry, moving a little bit more fairer, I think, in the demographics of that. But we'll keep plugging away and trying to do our bit as well as best we can, and as I say, working with the colleges and the universities and trying to create career paths and opportunities for people to go on and make our industry stronger and better for the future, because I think anyone would say that it is a real worry, and one that we've sort of earmarked. We're very data driven and very analytical at Warwick, and we have Statman Chris, who is one of our managers. So Statman Chris comes with all nuggets of gold for me every now and again, and we actually done some research on our customer base and the age demographic of our trade customers. and you can see window installers and tradesmen getting older, and I think that for the industry should be a slight worry as well of how do we get, you know, the next crop of window installers, and how do we get the next sort of you know, joiners or whatever it might be, transferable skills that we can go and tap into and get them into the fenestration world, because there's some good earnings to be had within the industry, you know, whether it's an installer or whether it's, you know, self-employed people who want to, you know, make a go at buying and dealing on the retail side of things. So that is the area I think that we, whilst the skills shortage within the industry is an issue, the one pinpoint I would say is that the installation side probably really needs to be driven a little bit more. I think the GGF, actually, to be fair to them, are doing some work on that. And they're a great little organisation in regards to the fact that they have a good relationship with lobby and government. They have some real good sort of work that they do to address the skills shortage, and things that we just spoke about there, that they work towards and strive towards as a group themselves, which is great, because the industry does need someone to lead on it, really. But yeah, the political lobbying and stuff that the GGF do is quite tied in and close to home as well, because I like me politics.
Yeah, so I hear. So how are you getting involved with all that?
Really good, Richard, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, locally, because we've just sort of adapted this philosophy that we want to, you know, engage with local colleges. We're obviously one of the city region's largest manufacturer employers. We're the largest window manufacturer in the Liverpool City region by some way. So whilst I think we'd all agree the last 12 months of central government hasn't gone as smooth as we would have liked, and, you know, businesses have suffered in regards to picking up the slack of the black hole that the Chancellor found. One thing I would say in their defence is that they've always been consistent with their messaging around house building,
Right.
which from our sector is, you know, great to hear. In the spending review a couple of weeks ago, I think 39 billion's been earmarked for social and affordable housing, which is great to see. Another couple of billion for retrofit as well. So there's a stat which always sticks out in my head. There's 165,000 children stuck currently in temporary accommodation because we haven't got the housing stock that we need to have. So that always, as again, back to being a parent, that always pains me, that stat. So we need to build more houses. We need to build a plethora of houses, not just social and affordable. It has to be a full range of people, so people can get the foot on the property ladder. But we need to start building houses, and I think, you know, house building will stimulate obviously the economy and the full supply chain. The caveat to it is, going back to what we just spoke about, do we have the people and do we have the skills to actually go and build the ambitious numbers that the government talk about? But one thing I would say is that modern methods construction, as well as traditional methods, can play a big part, because they're quicker to build. So, you know, if you can do a modern method house, whether it be timber frame or in 2 or 3 days, then we can have a real good go at trying to achieve the ambitious targets. And, you know, whether it's modern method or whether it's traditional, they still need windows and doors.
They do.
So yeah, the way I look at it is, yeah, we you know, businesses have suffered, and you know, the first 12 months haven't gone great, but there's hope, there's potential, and if the pie, so to speak, gets bigger for us all, then bite out of us that we've had recently with national insurance rises and national living wage rises and energy costs and things like that that we've all had to endure. If the pie gets bigger, then that big bite doesn't seem as big necessarily then, because we'll be having plenty of work at least to go at.
So, there's a few things that. Just going back to the children. So, with everything you've done there, how are you attracting? Is it the connections that you've got with the universities and colleges? So, I'm just sort of thinking for anyone listening or watching, because they'll be in the same situation. Why did they come to you? You've got 2 new starters started yesterday. Why do they choose to work with you compared to all the other industries that are out there?
Yeah. What I would say again, locally, I think this is where devolution can help a little bit. Is locally our combined authority have just earmarked 68 million over the next 12 months to adult learning. So the colleges are benefiting at this moment in time from the Metro Mayor and the funding that has been given. That then allows that talent pool to be sort of trained and earmarked for what is needed for the city region. So this is why, as I say, I think devolution works, is because I don't always agree, like, sort of Whitehall know what a factory in Bootle needs, for example, whereas me local government do, because I can engage with them and I can speak to them about, I need window installers, or, you know, I need postgraduates, and then when the funding is given to the institutions and the talent is trained in accordance to what we need as employers, all we need to then do is to showcase what we represent as a business to attract that talent, and the pipeline's there for us then. Right. So if our culture's right, if postgrads can see, actually, these are a really nice company to work for, they're a young demographic, hungry, going places, you know, we've got 26, 27 years behind us in terms of stability and job security. If people can feel like they can be a part of the journey, and there's career and progression, and going back to the company structure before that, they're going to come in as a new starter, but you know what, they can achieve a junior management role within a couple of years and then onto a senior management role, and they can have a real impact in their local fabric as well. And you see new town status, 10,000 homes getting built literally across the road from the factory here. A lot of regeneration going on in the city region. And when you see the city changing, and you know, houses getting built, and you can have a part to play in that, I think it excites, and I think it's something new. And, you know, I'm not saying manufacturing is a glamorous industry by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not necessarily the sector. I think it's the company within that sector and within that industry. And if you can align what you want to achieve personally and what your goals are to a business that, you know, is showing what they want to achieve as well, then I think that's why they choose to come. We're very thankful for them, because, as I say, I'm very, very proud and very pleased of the management structure and the talent that we have across all areas of the business at this moment in time. It's the strongest we've ever been, and I genuinely believe that this company is set up for the next 2 decades, because there's that much potential and that much to go at, I think, with our staff.
So, with you sort of thinking so far ahead, what's your thoughts on the industry at the minute? Because I imagine you're keeping an eye, you're watching things, you're seeing stats. You got your stat man.
Statman Chris, yeah, Statman Chris. The industry's still not where it needs to be, but I put that down to probably to consumer confidence more than anything. Yeah. We're just all waiting to turn the corner, aren't we? And like, as I said before, you know, the first 12 months of central government haven't been an easy ride, and the mood music needs to change, and I think that